Welcome to our morning show today on WRCO Radio. It's our day to talk about the Richland School District with Administrator Steve Board. He's brought along a special guest, which we'll introduce you to in just a little bit here. You may know who it is. Steve Board is joining us. Steve, good to have you in the studio with us.
Good morning. It's great to be here. It's always a pleasure. I appreciate the opportunity driving here from the district office here this morning. You know, you got to go through a little bit of road construction and, you know, swerving to miss a few potholes. It's a pretty rough ride, and it just kind of made me think, this is exactly what education's like, right? You're driving along smoothly, and you got to try to avoid a few obstacles, and sometimes the road gets a little narrow, and this is what kids do every day when we're learning. And but in the end, all of those obstacles, all of the construction, so to speak, that we do turns out to be a beautiful project in the end, and that's what we hope from our students. So there's just kind of a reflecting a little bit here this morning as I'm swerving to miss those orange cones and the potholes on the right-hand side. So,
right. Well, the good thing is there's light at the end of the tunnel.
There's definitely light, just like there is for all of our students. So.
Exactly, and we're already into April. How can that be?
We are. So I know our seniors are now thinking, as we've gotten back from spring break, like they see the light at the end of the tunnel for graduations right around the corner. You know, we're down to just 33 days left of school, so it's a great opportunity for them. They've put in 14 years of school to satisfy all of the requirements to graduate, and I'm sure they're excited to move on to the next phase in their life. And then all of the students below them, right? Our juniors are excited to be seniors, and our seventh graders are excited to be eighth graders, and our kindergartners are excited to be first graders, and so on and so forth. It's just a great opportunity. We just had an all-staff Zoom meeting last week, and just reminding our staff, this is a time of year where there's a lot of things going on, right? There's field trips and end-of-the-year things, but there's also 30-some days of education, and we want to make sure that we take advantage of that and leave every student with a positive experience in the Richland School District, because you could have had a rough go with a student, and not every teacher sees eye to eye with every student. Not every student sees eye to eye with every staff member. But regardless of what the past has been, there's 35 days here where you can make a positive impact. And if those students leave and go into the summer months with a positive experience, they're going to be more inclined to be engaged in school when the fall hits, more inclined to be excited about it, start school off on the right foot. By the same token, it doesn't matter. They could have had the best 7 months possible, and if they leave with a rough last 6 weeks, they're going to have a bad experience going into the summer, a bad taste in their mouth, and less likely to be engaged and excited about the new year starting next fall. So it's on all of our staff to make sure that all of our students continue that progress forward. We've made such great strides. We've got such great relationships. Our staff does with all of our students, but continue that. Don't take these last few weeks for granted, and send them off into the summer with a good education and good character and integrity and good work ethic, and I'm excited about that.
We say it every year, but this is a tremendous senior class that will be commencing in a couple of months, right?
It is. I tell you, and you're right. Every senior class has its unique talents, but this senior class is certainly very special. They've succeeded on and off the court, and I think that shows a lot. I was just we've got the champion games coming up here in May, and just ran into a group of students that were going down to meet their little buddies at the other buildings, and I just thought, what a tremendous group of students and staff that we've got leading this thing. But for them to go back and go back down to the primary school or their intermediate school and help the young students, and what a joy it is for the young students to get a chance to see the upperclassmen. So just great group of students, and kudos to them and their families for bringing them up the right way, and you can certainly see it. They've got great character.
On this program before, you've talked about your steering committee and some goals and that kind of thing. Can you give us an update?
Yeah. So, our board about a year ago has gone through kind of a transition where it's not only wanting to go from a governance model that makes decisions on day-to-day to a governance model that really oversees and makes decisions at a high level. And with that, they've wanted to have a process where we hear from the stakeholders of our community. Stakeholders being everyone, right? Not just parents that have students in the community, but in the school district, but business owners, retired senior citizens, families that don't have any children, right? students themselves, staff members, everybody that has any kind of a role in the Richland School District, parent, student, or other, to gather their input on what they want their public school to be in the Richland School District, because in the end it is a public school, and it's our public's school. And while there are a lot of similarities between us and other school districts in the state of Wisconsin, there are also some things that are very unique to the city of Richland Center, the county of Richland, and the Richland School District. And so it's important for us as administrators and as our school board to hear from those stakeholders and find out what are the things that they really value and what are the things that they're really looking for from their school. This is my fourth year as superintendent, first year being interim, and one of the things that I pressed on our school board early on was we have to have some goals and priorities, right? We have to understand, because there's not an infinite amount of resources, there's not an infinite amount of staff, there's not an infinite amount of time, there's not an infinite amount of money, the three primary things in resources. And so when it comes down to determining right versus right, and oftentimes that's what we're trying to decide, is both of these things are right, both of these things are valuable, both of these things are meaningful, but we can't do both because we don't have the resources. How do we decide which is which is more important? What are we going to set forward? And the last few years, our board has been great, along with our administration, on setting goals and priorities, okay? But in the end, it's a board of 7 and an administrative team of 14 or 15, and those 21 or 22 people are ultimately the ones in the past setting those goals and priorities, and it's worked well. But now it's time for us to really see if the goals and priorities that we've set are what the community really wants. And so this is an opportunity for our board and administration to take direction from the community. And our board and administration has taken really, truly a hands-off approach. We wanted this process to be authentic and real and driven from the stakeholders. And so our steering committee has 13 or 14 folks who were nominated and appointed by our board, and they have been meeting diligently. Aaron Umbihan and myself have met or have attended purely as liaisons so that we can report back to the board and or our administrative team. Oftentimes, I may have to answer a question from the steering committee. Can we do this, right? Do we have these things available as they're setting up this event? And but outside of that, this is steering committee led, and therefore this is a steering committee event. In the end, they will be reporting back to our Board of Education. They will be making a recommendation to our Board of Education, but the process needs to be authentic. It cannot be tainted in any way, and we're excited about what this 2-night event is going to look like. And I've said to my wife and a few others that this 2-night event, right, Sunday the 26th of April and Wednesday the 29th of April, may be the most important 2 days in the history of the Richland School District, right? I mean, and I know that sounds a little dramatic, but when you think about it, it really could be, because our school district is at a really, really good spot right now. We've had over 220 students enroll or re-enroll into the school district since the end of last year, so we know we're doing some things right, and that's why it's so important for this to be authentic and for us to hear loud and clearly, now that we've gotten things somewhat right in our school district, how do we become great? How do we become the district of envy? How do we become that district that our students want to attend and our public supports and wants to continue to support? And the only way to really know that is to hear from them, right? To hear from those folks to determine what they want their school district to be. And I just think it's going to be a tremendous event. I'm hoping and optimistic that we're going to get 150, 180 people there and hear from each and every one of them on what they want the school district to be now and moving into the future.
Indeed. So you brought along a special guest today.
I did. I brought along my neighbor in Wedgwood, a guy by the name of Ron Fruit, and he had trouble getting to the station here, and I had to show him around a little bit. But we got him here, we've got him situated. But it's great to have him, and in all seriousness, it's great to have Ron as part of the steering committee. But it's great to have all of those members helping out and offering their input here. So, but it's wonderful to have Ron present today.
Yeah. Good morning to the longtime host of this program, Ron. How you been?
I've been good, Phil. Thank you, and it's good to be with with you?
I wondered because I heard Brady Ewing's name bandied about as well. Did they pick like two former great student athletes to be on the steering?
Clearly not. They picked one great student athlete.
And then they picked Brady besides.
No, that's what it was, yeah. Well, tell me about why this appeals to you.
Well, I think Steve used a really key word, and that's stakeholder. He didn't say this is for parents. This isn't for grandparents. It's not for senior citizens. It's not for students. It's for stakeholders. And that really is a uniform term that describes all of us in this community, and it reminds us that we all have a role to play in understanding the importance of our school and how that school really interacts with our lives, whether we have children there or not. And so I just really think we all have an opportunity as well as an obligation to help provide the input that will help us direct the school district in the way we would want. The steering committee is interesting because it's really diverse. I guess I probably fit that category of being the senior citizen on it. But, of course, I attended Richland School District. My children have attended the Richland School District. My siblings did. And you look at our committee, and there are those who can say the same thing as I do. There are others who have moved to this community, who live here, but never were a part of the school district. And it's been interesting to hear their perspective. But the key thing that, and I think Steve will agree with this, that the steering committee has been challenged with is creating this event to gain the input from the community. It's not for us to decide what the input is. It's not for us to decide who will speak or anything else. Our job is to create an event that is welcoming, that brings people in, that gives people a good experience and a good taste about the school district, gives us a chance to learn, maybe gives us a chance to learn about our neighbor, and we all go home after 2 nights of working together, feeling that we've had an impact, we've made a difference, and we have a bright future to look forward to as taxpayers, as parents, as community people who want to see the neighbor kids do the best they can and have the best opportunity they can, as we think about retaining individuals in our community and children that we want to live here and grow here. If all those things are important to us, then these 2 meetings coming up, I think, are critically important as well.
Well, I applaud the district. I think it's a unique thing because, it's sometimes we think we're doing well. It's hard to sometimes look in the mirror and say, well, take constructive criticism and put those to use, right?
Well, absolutely. And on our steering committee, we have 2 students, which is really a good opportunity because their perspective is clearly refreshing for me to be able to hear them talk about how they think we can reach the community and what a difference that makes. And I think that when we talk, again, going back to that word stakeholders, that reminds us that we all have an important role to play, regardless of who we are, regardless of what our experience is. This week, I had the chance to reconnect with a classmate that I had not seen in more than 50 years. Probably the last time was when we graduated from Richland Center High School. And within a couple of minutes, we were reminiscing about 8th grade basketball and teachers that we had. And I guess I kind of hope that happens at these meetings where people have a chance to reconnect and in different generations and remembering different things that have happened that have been so influential on this community, and hoping that the future can hold those same kind of pivotal moments that can be created when we work together, we think together, we strategize together. And then, and Steve Schrader, who's been our leader, kind of the facilitator in all of this from the Dominion Group, says is that we hold that gentleman right over there accountable to make sure that what the community has spoken is what the school district is going to look at. And so that will be, I think I'm right in saying that, aren't I, Steve? That really, we're going to give you your marching orders as a community, as stakeholders, with what comes out of these meetings.
Yeah, that's exactly it. For the steering committee to, make that recommendation to the board, our board is more than likely going to be adopting that recommendation and then tasking myself and the administrative team with carrying that out. And it'll be important for me to reassure our community that my role in this thing is to listen, right, and then to implement and then to inform. And it's important to do all 3 of those things, right? We have to be good listeners, listening to what our stakeholders are hearing, listening to what the recommendation is going to be, listening to what we're tasked with, but then finding ways to implement and get to that point. It's not going to happen overnight, right? Some things may be low-hanging fruit that we may be able to implement and have success with right away. Others may be a 3, 4, 5-year process, right? But we have to be moving towards what our community wants from our district. And then finally, we have to keep people informed, right? It's I think I hear this a lot with surveys, right? Nobody wants to fill out a survey where nothing happens from it, right? But they're more than willing to fill out a survey or provide feedback if they think something's actually going to be done with it. And that's what I need to reassure our community and our stakeholders. That's what our board wants to reassure them, is once we go through this process, because the steering committee's put in a lot of work and our community will be providing a lot of input, to reassure them that we are going to do something with the data, the feedback that we hear, that we're going to implement those priorities to the best of our ability, and that we're going to keep them informed through our monthly show here on the morning show, through email communication, through our website, through our newsletter that gets sent out, and any other means that we can to inform our stakeholders on this is where we're at in that progress. And it's almost like a district report card at a local level. Where are we at and how are we progressing along with these goals?
Ron, you mentioned being an alumnus there. How do you guard against all of us saying how great it was in the old days, and thinking of these ideas that maybe don't work anymore around the school district and education, right?
Well, I think all we have to do is listen to today's students, because I think I'd sure hate to compete against some of these students today. If they'd have been in my class, I'm not sure where I'd have wound up, but I think it would have been a very humbling experience. I just see some really capable young people. I had the privilege, the Richland Center Lions Club annually, and for 80 years now in our community, has recognized 3 students in each class at Richland Center High School, and they give what they call their Lions Leadership Award. And I had the privilege of being the speaker. And I met 12, some I knew, but some I didn't, but 12 dynamic students who just really have such a bright future and give, I think, our community such a chance to be proud. And in some ways, I wish the Lions could invite the whole community to be a part of that night. But I think it causes us to focus and think, there's a lot going on right now that's really positive. And while what was very good, and I'm thankful for the education that I received and for the teachers that I had and for the friends I had, but I also see, boy, my future is really based on these young people who are doing a great job, and we don't tell their story enough. And so I really think that the more engaged we are, the more we recognize that every aspect of our school history can be strong, and that keeping today strong gives those who are attending today the chance to look back with pride in the future.
Well said. How? What can people expect if they attend one of these meetings? Right?
Well, I think sometimes you hear this and you think this is going to be a dry public hearing and it's just not going to be any fun at all. And that is not the case. A lot has been put into this. The band will play, and they're supposed to be outside, so hopefully the weather will cooperate. But the band will play. We'll have student performances from all levels of the district, the primary, the intermediate, and the high school, and that can be inspiring. There will be food there. The Sunday will feature the Wild Honey Juicery and Cafe, which is soon to open, so it'll be like a sneak peek and some delicious food. And then on the Wednesday, the performance or meeting, that will feature the Phoenix Center, and we're all going to enjoy some pizza. So Greg and Amy, I would really appreciate green olives and hamburger.
Yeah,
and you'll second the motion. Yeah, I know. We've talked about that before. So there will be food. And then the sessions, the way that they are titled, I just want to give you, Phil, the overall theme, and I hope it sets the stage that people realize this will be fun. The first one, and coming up on Sunday, so the programs are similar, but they're not the same. That's why we're hoping that everyone, if you are able, will attend 2 nights. If you can't attend both, then please attend one, because if you miss one, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be relevant in the second one. But the first session we'll have is Mad, Glad, and Sad activity, just talking about the district and really our community. And then a historical timeline activity. And that relates to your question before, talking about when I was in school. And if I'm at a table with several different generations, we're really going to get a great snapshot of the history of our school. And then the second night, there's Brag, Worry, Wonder, and Bet. What a great opportunity that is to think about the future. And the final one is to focus on future activity. So each one of these different sessions will give tables a chance to discuss these things. Now, no one is going to do any public speaking, and no one is going to stand up afterward and say, this is what our table said. Not at all. I think in some ways it's a good analogy. You think about an old gold prospector, looking for gold and shifting through nuggets. Well, at this, we're going to be looking for nuggets, but everything that we collect is going to be given to a group of students and others who are going to collate this and put every idea together, not trying to determine that night, oh, this is gold, this is silver, that's mud. No, together everything, and then really study that. And that's where the Dominion group really comes into play, if my understanding's right, is to take all this input and make sense of it, just looking at that data. And so I think it's going to just be a fun night. People will leave thinking, this was entertaining. This was fun. I was inspired. I am anxious to hear the follow-up that Steve and the administrative team will provide to the community. And I am looking forward to it because I was a part, and some of the information that I put in is going to make a difference in the future of my school.
And Steve, when will some of that be public knowledge then?
Yeah, so the after these two nights, our steering committee, their role really shifts from planning this event to really taking a lot of the data. As Ron mentioned, Steve Schrader and his group at the Donovan Group will analyze and do a thematic analysis of the data, find some general themes just to help start the process, right? You give 14 people what could be literally thousands of pieces of data. That's really difficult to sift through. So they'll get things started. They'll bring that back to the steering committee here in May and in June, and the steering committee will then use that, and they'll make a recommendation to our board based on what they heard, right? They're very, very clear. We heard loud and clear that we want our school district to be X, Y, and Z, right? We heard a little bit of A, B, and C, and we heard just a tiny bit of E, F, and G, right? But we really heard X, Y, and Z, and that's going to be a major theme. And so that would be one of the recommendations. We need to have whatever it is. And so in the end, we are expecting the steering committee to make a recommendation to our board that will really be the 4 or 5 pillars of success for the Richland School District moving forward. And each of those pillars kind of has its own theme. One might center, and again, I'm not trying to sway anything. It'll be an authentic process, but it may be communication, how we communicate, right? And the ways that we communicate. A pillar may end up being post high school graduation, right? Like, what do we want our students to be ready for as they enter life, whether it's for college, career, or other. It might be academics, right? It may be academic achievement, any of those things. So regardless, there'll be these, some will refer to them as buckets, others will refer to them as pillars, but what are these big categories, and what's our big priority of that? And that's really what the steering committee will do in May and June, with the idea of making a recommendation to the board at the end of June for ideally a July 1st implementation. Now, if the steering committee needs more time to complete the analysis and it blurs into July and we don't get started with it until August, that's fine as well, right? We want to make sure that they take as much time as they need to really think about and analyze what they want to make for a recommendation. But once that happens to the board, again, it's highly likely our board will accept that recommendation, and then we'll start, right? And it may take a good 9 months to a year just for the administrative team to digest that information and figure out how are we going to measure this piece of information, this pillar, right? How are we going to measure success? And so, again, that's part of the process. It's not like there's going to be on September 1st, 2026, all of this change, right? But at least we have a pathway forward, right? We know our destination. We know, we should know where we're heading. If you think about it in a vacation analogy, right? Our steering committee will make a recommendation to our board. We think we should vacation in Orlando, right? And our board says, yes, that's what we should do. That's what we've heard from our community administration. Now you figure out the way to get us there. But in the end, we want to end up vacationing in Orlando. We don't necessarily care if we drive or take a train or fly. We don't care if we've got a one-way ticket or a layoff. We don't care which roads we take. That's for you to figure out, and that's for your staff and everyone in our community or everyone in our school community to implement. But in the end, you know what our goal is, and that's we want to end up in Orlando. I think that's probably the best metaphor that I've heard in terms of how this thing will work. And again, that will take the administration a little bit of time, but in the end, we've all got a clear direction on where we're heading and where our destination is.
We'll talk more about it coming up after the break on The Morning Show. Steve Board, Ron Fruit, our guest today on The Morning Show. It's our day to talk with Richland School District Administrator Steve Board. Ron Fruit is here as well, talking about the upcoming event at Richland Center High School, one of the endorsers for the Richland District. Steve, you've been busy with some other things. We've talked a little bit about the Simons complex. Last time you were here, you spoke about that. Any update you can give us?
Yeah. So regarding Simons specifically, I think that all of the entities, the city, the county, and the school district, I certainly don't want to speak on behalf of them, but I think it's safe to say I think that that's going to be status quo, at least for the rest of 2026, and all three groups will continue to collaborate and work together and try to figure out what the best and most sustainable option for Simons specifically is. And I guess I would just take this. I've said this before, but I just can't I appreciate so much. I can't say enough how much I appreciate the relationship that the school district and the city and the county and the hospital and some of these entities in our community have. Like I just am so appreciative of our ability to work together and try to solve problems for our community. And this is one of those, right? In terms of how do we have a resource like Simons and stay in our community and be financially solvent and not put the burden entirely on the taxpayers, and what's the best way for that to happen. And I appreciate being a part of that, but as it sits right now, our school district has said that they're not interested in taking Simons over right now. And all three groups will just continue to have those conversations. But I'm excited about that. In relationship to the campus property itself, the Melville Hall and the gym and the adjacent green space next to the gym, as the community probably knows by now, that the school district put in an offer to purchase that. There is a grant through the DNR, I believe it's called the LawCon grant, that takes up a good chunk of the green space that is adjacent to the gymnasium. And that grant goes and it spills into the tennis court area and some of that area. And when that grant was established, the community has to continue to keep that as recreational space. So nothing can be built on it, nothing can be done with it in that regard. And because it encompassed some of the area that was outside of what the school district was purchasing, we ran into a little bit of a hiccup there. But again, in working with Trish Clemens and Mike Hardy has helped with this, they're trying to get that grant reestablished so that it's all in the green space that the school district is purchasing, transfer it out from the tennis courts into another area of green space. And so then once it's all located in one parcel, then we should be able to complete that process. We're on a Zoom meeting, I think, later this week with the surveyor, trying to find out where we're at with that. But I know I've said this before, but I think we're getting really close, right? And I think that we're going to be in those spaces sooner rather than later. And there may be some I's to dot and some T's to cross on the back end with utilities and internet and sewer and those kinds of things. But again, our great relationship with the county will make that process happen very smoothly. But we fully anticipate having ownership of it by July 1st, if not sooner, and start the school year off with Melville, which again is kind of where we want to house most of our alternative programming outside of Partner. Partner will stay where it's at East Hall. having access to the gym. Again, we've got that through an MOU with the county. We want to make sure that we continue that. Roles will be reversed, but then that green space as well. So that'll be an exciting opportunity for our district to acquire those buildings and use them for an educational purpose.
Budget process is going on right now?
Yeah, budget process is going on. We're knee deep into the 26-27 budget, and that is a process, right? Whenever we're in the second year of a biennial state budget, that does help because we're not waiting for the state to finalize their budget, which typically happens in July for the next year, and we're trying to make plans. There's a few more knowns that are going on right now, so that helps. However, budgets are still tight, right? And there are 70+% of the school districts in Wisconsin that are declining enrollment. So despite the fact that we've enrolled or re-enrolled over 220 students since last year, and that's great, right? Our community as a whole is much like most of the state of Wisconsin, and that's that birth rates are just lower, and we have less school-age children living in our communities. And as a result, because the current funding formula for schools is based on per pupils or per member of school-age children, the revenue that a school district has, and most school districts have, is reduced, right? And even when we do increase our enrollment, the state has a formula that they use to determine this and to help school districts avoid the abrupt reduction in revenue. They use what's called a 3-year rolling average. So if you've got 1,000 students 1 year and then you drop down to 990, you don't lose the revenue for 10 students right away. They take the average of the last 3 years, and so it kind of softens the blow, which is really, really great. However, when we increase enrollment, even in the case of these students who are re-enrolling or enrolling in our district, we sometimes see a delay on the income as well. And so while those things are certainly beneficial and it softens the blow a little bit in terms of our declining enrollment, it does take a while for all of it to catch up. And so next year will be a tough year for the district. We're fortunate that the community passed a non-recurring referendum a few years back, and we've got that money to be able to use. But we wanted to also be very fiscally responsible with that. We were conservative with those figures, and we also knew that we maybe had a little too much staff. And so one of the things that we are doing right now is right-sizing our staff. Our board has approved a reduction of 3.0 FTE, and we did that through the reduction of 1 administrative position and then 2 teaching positions at the high school level. Our primary school and our intermediate school over the last few years, they've already made these reductions, right, as our lower class sizes have filtered through. But now those lower class sizes are up in our high school, so our high school 7 through 12 building will feel the pinch a little bit more in terms of staff reduction. So we were able to get down to the 3.0 reduction in staff. But then we also added the all-day, everyday 4K at the primary school level, and this is something I think is going to be great for our community. You think about not only the educational benefits that students will have going to school as a 4-year-old all day and every day, but the financial relief that it will get for families not having to have as much daycare services during the school year. Meals will be taken care of because, again, they're part of the public school. We will provide transportation. We will provide the breakfast and lunch. We will provide supervision from the time that school's going on till the time that school's dismissed, and likely even some afterwards. So, we have let me back up here. So because we have the all-day, everyday 4K, we had to increase our staff at that 4K level, right? We had to have more teachers because right now we have the same staff serving our Monday, Thursday students as well as our Tuesday, Friday students. And so obviously they can't be in 2 places at once, so we've had to increase that. That has meant some further reductions elsewhere throughout our district. And again, that's never fun to do, but we're facing health insurance increases of 10 to 13%. We're fortunate we have a rate cap of 12.9% for next year for our health insurance. So it won't be any more than that, but I believe our renewal rate would have been around 30% of a health insurance increase. And, to a staff member's paycheck, 13% is $40 a month, give or take, and that's manageable. But on a district side, when the district is paying for 89% of that benefit, and you multiply that by 170 staff members, that's almost a $500,000 increase in costs for that. So these are all things we're trying to work out. Our transportation increase is going to be substantial as well, with fuel costs going up and just costs in general going up. So budgets are never fun in a school district, as I'm sure it is for most of the school districts. But we have been financially responsible over the years, and we've been conservative, and I don't think that we've had a lot of fluff. We've got a very competitive wage schedule for our staff now, which is great. But we want to be able to keep that and keep the staff that we have and be financially responsible for our stakeholders.
Again, we want to put the focus on the upcoming nights. Ron, again, maybe you could go over the nights that will be taking place here in the next couple of weeks for the district.
Absolutely. Thank you, Phil. One of the first things is it's called HIVE Mind. And it really does, work off so many other things that the school district has used, I think, so successfully to promote its circumstances, but HIVE Mind. And we are asking that people RSVP. And that's really so that, well, it's really twofold. One, to streamline so that when you get there'll be a name tag for you, and we're going to have different tables set up, and there'll be a number there so you know what table that you're going to. There will be students there who are going to welcome you and help you find your table, or help you get a plate for your pizza or your treats from the Wild Honey Juicery and Cafe. But it does help plan for how much food is needed. And then that also says, do you need daycare? Do you need childcare during this event? And so that RSVP is really important. And to do that, you just go to the school district website. You can search for HIVE Mind. Take a look at everybody. All the postal patrons received the newsletter that Carrie put out and did a wonderful job. That's got all the information there. But if you search for HIVE Mind on the Richland School District website, there's a place where you can RSVP. And if that's not comfortable, you can call the district office and just simply say, I want to come to HIVE Mind on Sunday, April 26th, and the hours then we gather from 3:30 until 4, and that's when we'll have the food. Then from 4 until 6, the student performances and the program, and really just working together to come up with a good strategic future for the Richland School District begins on Wednesday the 29th. We'll gather starting at 5:30, and that's when you enjoy your pizza and so forth, and then from 6 until 8, it's that opportunity to have that activity. And I think I don't want to say that it's a night when it's intimate, but by the same token, it's not overwhelming, because we're going to be at a table with 8 to 10 people, and there will be table captains, and we'll just sit and talk. Not unlike what we've done here today. We'll just add 6 people, and that will happen throughout the entire cafeteria area where we will be. There will be flip charts, so all the ideas are written down, and then they're taken to those who will be inputting that and creating the database for all the ideas that everyone that comes together, and so hopefully we have that singular HIVE Mind. I had said we were supposed to come up with some ideas, to try to just motivate people to come. And the old line that I think just really fits, and Carrie put it in the newsletter, is that no one plans to fail. We just fail to plan. And I think that's at the crux of what HIVE Mind is all about. I think that's what Aaron and the board are trying to do. We don't want to fail, but we need to plan to make sure that we don't.
And I think you want to stress that it's not for people that have kids in school or had kids in school. It's for anybody in the district.
It's absolutely everyone in the district. That is so critically important, Phil. You're absolutely right. It's that unified voice that is going to give, first of all, the steering committee, just a really good feeling that we are representing all the feelings of every person in the Richland School District when we recommend to the school board and to the administrative team what we believe these buckets or pillars need to be. And that's going to be not an easy job, but it's certainly going to be made easier if we've had just really good participation. So I hope people will come, spend the time. Again, if you can come to both nights, please do. But if you can only come to one, that's what your schedule will allow, then come to one. come and be a part of what's happening and just make that reservation at the Richland School District website.
We've talked about it before, how the school is the center of the community, and I think it really is in Richland Center. And I think that hopefully there will be a good turnout as a result, because everybody knows what the school means to the community. Right?
You and I have talked about that a lot. That is really what makes the difference in communities our size compared to others that are larger. That school is the hub of everything that happens. And we want to keep that wheel moving in the right direction.
Great. We hope people will be a part of that as well. Steve, anything you want to add today for your visit?
Yeah, no, I just appreciate all the work that the steering committee has put into it. I appreciate Ron for being here. I think he mentioned something that earlier in the program that I just want to reiterate, and that's that no one's going to be uncomfortable, right? Everyone has thoughts, and we want to hear all of their thoughts. Sometimes people will, I don't want to speak out. Maybe other people don't feel that way. It is okay. We want to hear from everyone's thoughts about it. No one's going to be asked to stand up and speak. No one's going to be uncomfortable. They're small tables. They're likely going to come out of this thing and really have enjoyed the process and probably reacquainted themselves with some old friends, or maybe made some new ones, and all of that is great. And the other is that Steve Schrader from the Donovan Group has assured us that everyone's time is valuable, and so he will ensure that we start on time and that we end on time. And so if you can commit to those 2 hours, let's see, 4 to 6 on Sunday, the 26th, and 6 to 8 on Wednesday, the 29th, with a half hour at the beginning of each one for some food and snacks and social time. But if you can commit to that, it will be probably the biggest 4 hours that our school district has had in shaping its future. So we just appreciate everyone.
Big drawing card is the student entertainment. I've been blown away by some of the talent of some of these kids, Ron.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing. It really is. And again, you just that's the piece that we want to see continuing to happen. I mean, I think that's the joy. You asked me before about, was it always better then? Let's build on success. Maybe it was really good when I was there, but is what happened in my time helping someone else succeed, and is what we're doing at HIVE Mind going to help others succeed. But you're right, there are some incredible students, and at the 6th grade level, they're playing band pieces that I wouldn't have tried as a senior.
Me too. Is there a deadline for the pre-registration as well?
Sooner is better.
Okay.
It just really gives us a chance. And so I would say if we can, in the next week would just be ideal, wouldn't it, Steve?
Yeah, absolutely. If we could, by next Wednesday or Thursday, that would really give us a good idea. Again, Wild Honey and the Phoenix Center are helping out with the food. That helps everyone plan for that. It helps us make sure that we've got enough supervision for daycare. So if you could hop on the website or call the district office and just let us know you're coming, you, your spouse, your family, whatever that looks like. But if you just forget, you're certainly welcome to just show up on that night and be part of it. We welcome them.
The next time you come back, you'll be talking about the summer lunch program. You'll be talking about commencement,
graduation, right around the corner. Yeah,
Right.
There's a lot of things. It's the school year has flown by. That's generally a sign that it's been a good year. It so far has been an absolutely great year, and hopefully we can have a great ending. And 2026-27 will soon be in the books.
If we can just get some spring sporting
25,
events in. Yeah. The weather will just let us play some ball and, kick some soccer balls and run some tracks.
If we can get through these next couple of days here, I think the weather will turn around, and it should be great. So,
great.
We're excited.
Thanks for coming in, gentlemen.
Yeah,
Thank you, Phil.
Appreciate it. Good to see you again, Ron. Ron, who is one of the endorsers, again, for the HIVE Mind program coming up in the Richland District, and District Administrator Steve Board with his monthly visit here on The Morning Show.